Welcome, fight fans, to Boxing Scene's top stories only on ProBox TV, your boxing channel. I am George D. Metellus. Long-form content still available on the app, the ProBox TV app, and on YouTube as well. And you can listen to the top stories audio form where podcasts are available. We got the champions in the house joining us here on Top Stories. We got Chris Algieri, and we got Paulie Malignaggi here on Top Stories. All right, Gervonta Tank Davis, his co-trainer, Kenny Ellis, stated that there is no way to look at Davis versus Shakur Stevenson as a 50-50 fight. That's because, simply put, Tank can punch and Shakur can't punch. Now, Ellis essentially said that if Davis falls behind on the scorecards, he possesses that one-punch knockout power to change the outcome. And Shakur, if he were to fall behind, well, he has no hammer to change the fight in his favor. All right, Paulie, is this true? What do you make of that statement there from Kenny Ellis?
If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, but she doesn't, so she's my aunt. You know, in today's day and age, you know, you're going to obviously have a debate about these kind of fights, and we love this. You know, this is the fight we want to have, so I love that this fight is staying in the conversation. Obviously, Team Davis is going to favor their guy. Team Shakur Stevenson is going to favor their guy. And, you know, you're going to have talking points, and you're going to have discussion points. And, yes, of course, when there's a puncher, he's always in the fight, even if he's hopelessly behind. Of course, the boxer makes his reputation by being the boxer, at least the non-punching boxer, because I'll be honest, Davis can box a little bit as well. The boxer who's not a puncher makes his living. He lives and dies by the fact that he's always going to be ahead in the fight. He's always going to control the fight. So yes, he's got a point there. But that's about where it ends. I mean, you can't really tell which direction the fight is going to go here if they go head to head. There's always the case. Every time you see this, always the case. The puncher, you know, what's the other guy going to do? How's he going to keep off the puncher off of him? He's not going to be able to control him. Listen, Tank isn't the most active guy. You know what I mean? In the ring, you know, he's very, very cerebral, but he's not active. He risks falling behind a lot, and he does fall behind a lot on the scorecards. So I don't know about all this. Oh, what if Shakur's hopelessly behind? Well, you know, he doesn't have the puncher's chance. Most likely in this fight, I'd have to say it's going to be Davis who's going to wind up needing the knockout as it goes later, because he's falling behind against guys who are not even a quarter of what Shakur Stevenson's boxing ability is, let alone Shakur Stevenson's boxing ability. But nonetheless, yes, of course, Team Davis has a point. Their guy is going to be in the fight because he's a puncher, even if they're behind. Either way, I like the talk, but I want to see the fight. Let's get the fight made. This is what we're talking about here. We want to keep talking and talking. Let's make the fight already.
Yeah, Champ, you beat me to it with the aunt and the uncle analogy. A lot of ifs and buts in that statement. So, you know, yeah, if this, that, then that, but this. Yeah, I mean, listen, the reason that we're saying it's a 50-50 fight is because it's such a competitive matchup. And when you have style differences the way that we have in this fight in particular, it leaves a lot of room for interpretation and questioning. And this is, again, like you said, this is why we like these kinds of fight. There's tons of things to discuss. But at the end of the day, it's whoever's going to enact their own game plan on fight night. The statement that, oh, you know, if Shakur falls behind, he's going to not have anything to get himself out of that ditch. Well, Shakur doesn't generally fall behind, and Tank Davis generally starts very slow because he's analyzing data. He has a very high boxing IQ. He's a good boxer himself, but he takes time to figure guys out, get their timing, get their rhythm. He's a shorter guy. He's got to close that distance. He's got to be smart about it, and especially if the guy has a little bit of pop or has good distance control the way that Shakur does. Shakur's really good at making you miss, making you reach, making you pay for it, and then shifting off without getting touched. That's a very difficult guy to deal with for 12 rounds. But once again, even when Tank falls behind, he has that great eraser. He's got that shot. So for all 12 rounds, Shakur has to be completely focused and locked in, which is very possible. We've seen him do that before. But really, this exactly why this is considered a 50-50 fight, if you're looking at it that way, is because of all these points. You got guys that have very different styles, but they both have mastered the style that they prefer, and it's going to come down to fight night who can enact said style and make the other guy fight their fight.
Yeah, only one way to find out is to get them both in the ring so they could get that unification fight. By the way, there's talk, Paulie, that Joe Cordina could be Shakur Stevenson's next opponent in October on that undercard of the Better BF Bivol fight. What do you make of that matchup between Cordina and Shakur Stevenson?
I suppose when Josh Dubin, the advisor for Team Stevenson, said our phone lines are open and we're waiting for Team Davis to go and negotiate, I'm assuming that call never came. That's what I have to assume. And the fact that Stevenson is going to now negotiate with Cordina when all the clamor has been about Davis, I'm assuming here that the call never came from Team Davis for the negotiation. And honestly, this is what I've been saying. I hope Davis doesn't become the new Canelo. I hope. but he actually goes and makes his fight. We want to see the best fighting the best consistently. The championships fighting the champions fighting one another. This is what we have in the lightweight division. Obviously, in the Canelo situation, he's got all the belts, so the avoidance of the top contenders is extra annoying in that case. But in this situation here, you got champion versus champion, and it's bona fide the best two guys in the lightweight division. Yeah, I understand Cordina's solid, but he's coming off a loss. This is what I'm saying about before. They bend the rules whenever they want to. Now all of a sudden you can come off a loss and get a title fight. You never could do this before. I don't understand how that's even possible. But again, why isn't the Davis fight being negotiated when the advisors of Team Shakur Stevenson were saying publicly that we're ready to negotiate the fight?
Yeah, Chris, what do you make of that matchup between Cordina and Stevenson?
That fight doesn't really do much for me, honestly. Like you said, Champ, Cordina coming off a loss, coming up a weight class to his first time fighting at 135, coming off of a bad knockout loss to fight Shakur Stevenson, who is just a fantastic fighter, great technician. And it doesn't really matter in terms of the layout of the 135-pound division for Shakur Stevenson. So, yeah, and in terms of Davis and Shakur happening, Champ, don't hold your breath.
Yeah. We all want to see Davis versus Stevenson. That's the matchup I think Turki Al-Sheikh should really make to unify the titles. Davis, the WBA champion, and Stevenson, the WBC champion. We'll see what happens there. Riyadh season would be great with Davis versus Stevenson. And we'd like to remind you to scan the QR code and check out the best live fight series in all of boxing, Wednesday Night Fights, a great main event coming up October 21st here on ProBox TV, your boxing channel. I'm George DeMatteis. That does it for Boxing Scene's Top Stories.
Wednesday Night Fights. Coming up on your next Wednesday Night Fights, August 21st, Jarrett Hurd battles Jason Rosario.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.